Welcome to Here's My Thing. My name is Frankie Salazar, and I just want to say before we start this video that as we all know, if you're not a stranger to me, either personally or via social media, it is a well-known objective fact that I am a Barb. Now, for those of you who don't know what a Barb is, it is a Nicki Minaj fan. And as usual, if you're not, bye-bye. But what I wanted to say, and before you go, I'm just kidding. This channel isn't just for Barbs exclusively. But what I will say is the other day, one of my TikToks went semi-viral in the sense that it got over 74,000 views and nearly 12,000 likes from Barbs all across the globe. And I am so happy to say that I am pioneering a movement of Barbs. I'm getting an army of us to all come together and all see all this nonsense for what it is. Now, before we get into the actual topic at hand, I am just going to have to make this a series at this point because it seems as though Nicki cannot help but beef with literally everyone and their mother. Literally. And we're going to get into that in just a second. But a couple days ago, we covered the Jay-Z and Rock Nation with Desiree Perez beef with Nicki Minaj. Just a few days later, flash forward, we have the Nicki Minaj versus SZA beef. And now we have Nicki Minaj beefing with former NFL player Dez Bryant. So, this is not only going to be a pop culture celebrity Nicki Minaj Barb episode, but if you're somebody that's into sports, which, I mean, let's be honest, my my fan base is not going to be, but if you are, maybe this will be something that we could talk about, and maybe talk about, because I personally hate sports, football in particular, but I like their fans, and I like to talk to people about it, and whenever guys try to get me to get into it, I am totally bored during the conversation, but I still want to know, so if you're somebody that likes sports, I would recommend you stay. And if you're a fan of Dez Bryant or a fan of the Cowboys, as he was formerly known to be with, you're going to want to stick around too. Now, this episode doesn't really have an actual script, so I'm going to just kind of do my best to freeball it, and I'm using the literal CBS Sports. Okay, this is per CBS Sports in the NFL news. This literally made the sports headlines, not even just like TMZ or XXL media and whatever. So in this in this article here, it's titled, Dez Bryant gets into a social media feud with Nicki Minaj. Rapper offers him $10 million to fight her husband. Now, here's the thing. I'm just going to try to give you a brief synopsis of this, so that way this video is not super long. But this says here that the sports world and entertainment world often intertwine and have done so yet again in an unexpected and wild way regarding the Micah Parsons, who I guess is a player of the Dallas Cowboys, contract situation. And to call the matter messy would be an understatement, and now Jay-Z and Rock Nation are involved, along with Nicki Minaj and even her husband, Kenneth Petty. Now, to give you guys a brief summary, like I said, I don't know shit about sports, and I don't really care, but this says here that Parsons, Micah Parsons, who's a current player of the Dallas Cowboys, was requesting a trade because there was a financial contracting kind of issue going on here, and Jerry Jones is the owner of the Cowboys, right? I guess. I don't know. I'm just kind of freeballing it here. But I guess Jerry Jones was insisting that he was going to try to get Micah Parsons on his own to try to, more or less, Micah Parsons kind of felt a way about that, which as he should, because he doesn't want to meet, in his own words, with his agent. Which in any world, entertainment or sports or whatever it is, there's a reason that agents and lobbyists exist for people who are of such a celebrity status, whether you're a sports player, an athlete or an entertainer or a singer or a rapper or actor or whatever, because the agents are the people that are going to be able to actually get the legality of all of this stuff underway and make sure that you're adequately compensated. And the reason that a lot of people get an agent is because obviously the agent, the more money that you make, the more money that they make. So Micah Parsons was feeling a very kind of odd way when it came to, well, why is Jerry Jones trying to get me by myself? It seems like there's only one reason for that, and that reason would be for me to be alone and for him to be able to get him and his lawyers to negotiate my contract on terms that maybe aren't that beneficial for me. Well, this is where it gets messy, okay? So Jerry Jones, because seemingly he's a little bit upset that Parsons is actually fighting for what he probably deserves. I don't know. But I'm going to take a guess here that when you're trying to do some shady shit and not meet with somebody's agent, you already know that you're contractually obligated to give this person what they're entitled to. Now, I know that Jerry Jones here says that he tries to make excuses and even belittle Micah Parsons, saying that I'm going to try to find it here. So here it is. I found it. Sorry about that. So Jerry Jones says, quote, "Just because we sign him doesn't mean we're going to have him. He was hurt 6 games last year. Seriously." So in other words, Jerry Jones is saying he's trying to justify not paying Mr. Parsons because he's trying to say that, oh, we're going to give him all of this money and he's not even going to be able to commit to all of the games and that he's contractually obligated to. And in parentheses here, and again, this is per CBS Sports on the NFL page, this says that Parsons actually only missed 4 games. Now, like I said, I don't know anything about football. Maybe somebody that does like football who's watching this clip can tell me what that means, but I would like to think that 4 games isn't that much. I don't know. But that was pretty much Jerry Jones's way of saying, basically, F you, we don't want to pay you, and I'm going to try to justify it by twisting it around and trying to make it seem like you're not as adequate a performer as we once thought that you were. Well, not only that, Mr. Jones also calls out Jay-Z for some reason, okay? And I didn't do enough research in this video. It's very unclear to me what the relationship with Jones and Jay-Z is, but it says here that Jones calls out Jay-Z, claiming that he didn't like how the Rock Nation founder handled contract talks with former Cowboys wide receiver Dez Bryant over a decade ago. So Jones is literally, it seems to just be grasping for straws here, because he's saying that he's already trying to justify not paying Mr. Parsons, who, as far as I know, is already very highly compensated and is deserving of this entitlement. But he's also trying to bring up stuff that happened over a decade ago, and he brings in Jay-Z and Dez Bryant. Now, like I said, I don't know what the relationship with Jay-Z and Rock Nation and Bryant is. There was some kind of agency or some kind of relationship there, but it says here that Jones claims Bryant wasn't present at meetings that Jay-Z said he would be, and the rapper stopped taking his calls, something that both Dez Bryant and Jay-Z have denied, and they turned it back on him, saying that he was the ones not taking the calls. Now, again, like I said, I'm not certain as to what the relationship is, and I'm going to put this clip on TikTok, so hopefully somebody that does like football or Dez Bryant or Jay-Z or knows anything about all this madness could tell me what it is that their relationship was. But so then Bryant takes to X, and he posts, "I don't think it's smart to mention my name. I keep quiet about a lot of unfair shit. We can have story time if that's what we're doing," adding Jerry Jones. So then Nicki, who, as we all know, in my eyes, I've said it a million times, Nicki in my eyes can do no wrong, so we already know who I'm going to side with at the end of this beef, but I do feel for Dez Bryant, and we're going to get into why in a little bit, because Nicki Minaj was not mentioned directly in any of this. This had nothing to do with her, but we already know that Nicki Minaj hates Jay-Z. And I'm going to go ahead and put in the description. You can go to the video section of my YouTube now to go see the full breakdown of the Jay-Z and Rock Nation beef that Nicki has with them. But she wasn't mentioned in any of this stuff. She has nothing to do with it. But just because she hates Jay-Z so much, she had to insert herself in this beef. So Nicki takes to Twitter saying, "How about we play a game? Every time you do a Jerry Jones or NFL story time, I'll do a story time of my own." So then Bryant gets back to her and says, "I want to play a game," in a GIF with Jigsaw from the movie Saw, where he goes, "Do you want to play a game?" That stuff. So then Nicki replies, "All of my stories will be about Rock Nation, Jay-Z, and the alleged racist Desiree Perez, Rock Nation CEO. I hope you fully understand the rules. It's your turn." So obviously Nicki is just going into this trying to just bash into Jay-Z and Desiree Perez, who she literally hates. Like, I pray that every single person watching this video finds somebody that loves them as much as Nicki Minaj hates Jay-Z and Rock Nation and Desiree Perez, because now she's literally wedging herself into a beef with a former NFL player and putting her husband's life on the line just because she hates Jay-Z so much. This is hilarious. So Bryant posts a video saying, "Look, Miss Nicki, leave me out of it. I don't want no problems. I'm a huge fan. I hope you're having a great day."
Look, Miss Nicki, leave me out of it. I don't want no problems. I'm a huge fan. I hope you're having a great day.
And from there, Nicki and the Barbs absolutely lose their shit. So then Nicki brings up his 2012 arrest for a misdemeanor domestic violence charge for allegedly assaulting his mother. And there's literal video footage of his mom all distressed, hair messed up, clothes ripped off, bra undone, whatever, I don't know. And he responds that he didn't go to jail or, quote, touch his mom, and that he had to remove her nails from his skin, and that he was dealing with a lot of stuff back then that everyone's aware of, and Nicki is just wedging herself in there with no actual evidence of any of this stuff. But the problem is, as the Barbs do, as we tend to do, they flood his social media, threatening his life, calling him a woman beater, calling him all kinds of things. I can't even get into it right now. But this is when Nicki says, "I'm going to give you $10 million in cash to fight my husband since you, quote, beat your own mom," and puts it in allegedly. Now, this is just crazy because Bryant then responds to her, as a man probably would, calling her all kinds of names, saying that she's a bitch and called her a hoe, and said that she needs to go get the cash, and says that he would, quote, stomp him right in front of her. Now, here's the problem. I'm going to go ahead and try to find a picture right now, but Mr. Petty is only 5'9" and weighs just shy of 175 pounds, whereas Mr. Bryant is huge because, again, he was a wide receiver for a national football team. But regardless of what we think will happen, if this fight were to ever happen, because Mr. Petty's under house arrest right now, Bryant also then takes to the media and says, "I've been lied to on my whole career, so I'm not trying to hear all of that shit. I thought we were speaking facts. I don't play all of that funny shit, and it's rock for life." So the problem is, the second he said rock for life, the Barbs absolutely, again, lose their shit, and saying that he needs to take Jay-Z's you-know-what out of his mouth. How does it feel to be Jay-Z's lover? Like being basically just the little bitch boy for Rock Nation and Jay-Z. Again, I don't know what the relationship is between the two, but he seems to have some kind of allegiance to it, and it is just so funny. And I don't know. And the reason I said that I feel bad for him, and here's my thing, like I said, we all know where my allegiance stands at the end of the day. I have to side with Nicki Minaj. I don't care what anyone's been through or what their intentions were and yada, yada, yada. But I will say, even though I just said I don't care about what people been through, that was just a bold-faced lie, because I really do care what people went through. And it seems that Bryant has had a troubled life since childhood, and he claims here that Jerry Jones knows of all the stuff that his family did to him and tried to use that as a negotiation tactic, and says that his mom put him through a whole bunch of stuff, and claims that Nicki wasn't defending herself. She literally inserted herself into this issue and had no reason of even mentioning him, which I do think is fair. So if there's any Barb that can kind of explain to me where he was the aggressor here, I'd like to know. Now, do I understand why the Barbs have a problem with a grown-ass man calling the motherfucking queen a bitch? Duh. Don't do that. But here's what he has to say to end the fight. Releasing it on X, he says, "I'm not in the sphere of people crashing out on the internet. I don't bother people. I never do. I was just posting about my son. I let the devil win that time. I apologize to the kids who follow me because I care about setting the right example more than you know. By the way, whenever people bring up my past, I want everybody to stop and think for 5 minutes. You can make it through anything if you put your mind to it, no matter how big the battle is. No excuses. So to me, it seems that Dez, despite lashing out, which, even though it's to Nicki Minaj, I can objectively see that that was more or less justified. And it was so just classy and in a way kind of beautiful for him to acknowledge that he is somebody that people look up to, particularly younger people. And it seems like he's a very motivational man. He seems like a broken man who's having a lot of issues here. But because he's associated with Jay-Z and Roc Nation, Nicki was having none of that shit. So who do I think is more or less at fault here? I have to lean with Nicki being at fault here just a little bit more. And before all the Barbs leave and want to cut my head off, just know that, obviously, we all know that Nicki was just trying to use this as a way to clown Jay-Z and Desiree Perez even more, and then attacking his mother obviously was in bad faith. But the problem is, the second every single person that Nicki is beefing with goes back at her, it's never directed at Nicki. Nicki has never done anything, to my knowledge, and even if she has, again, I don't care, but they always like to go after her brother and her husband and say that Nicki could be herself a predator because of all of this stuff that happened decades ago when, her brother is pretty nasty and convicted, and I know that all she did was stand beside her brother and pay for a lot of his legal fees, which isn't fair. Like, you have to stand, like, you know, like, she was just probably thinking, like, you have to stand behind your family. So, like, I can see it on both ends. But what her brother did was totally egregious. But as far as her husband is concerned, he was charged with a R word that took place when he and a then girlfriend was 16 years old. And we literally have that woman on the record saying that she lied about it, not only in a written statement, but in leaked videos. And Bryant takes it upon himself to bring that stuff up too and talk about how Mr. Petty is a predator and all of this stuff because Nicki had brought up his past domestic violence when it came to his mother. Now, there is a lot of evidence implicating him that it wasn't just a little one-off, little fight, and she was the aggressor and everything. It really does look bad for him in that sense. But this is all stuff in the past, and these are grown adults fighting online. And Nicki, at the end of the day, did end up wedging herself in this, and I wish she just hadn't, because this is one that I just can't seem to get behind as much as I have with the others. Because forget Jay-Z and Desiree Perez, no one gives a shit about them. The Barbs already know that I don't like his parrotfish-looking ass. And as far as SZA goes, I still love that woman. I'm still going to listen to her stuff. I'm still going to support her. I loved her in that movie with Keke Palmer. But we all, again, Nicki wins again, and in this instance, Nicki wins, but only like 1%, because I still think that what she did wasn't really in good faith, but we all know where my allegiance lies. But at the end of the day, this has been Here's My Thing, starring Frankie Salazar. As always, I would love for you to sound off in the comments of wherever you're seeing this video, either on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, and tell me your thing. Do you think that he attacked her more than he's letting on? Do you think that Nicki had every right to bring up what was that she brought up about his past when he brought up hers? Or do you think that she was just wedging herself in there because she literally hates Jay-Z's guts with an undying, burning passion? So, like I said, this has been Here's My Thing, starring Frankie Salazar, and I will see you guys in the next one. Mwah.